Welcome. This is the 10th video of a 10-part series, the final project. And this is where I unveil the essay, the summative assignment after all of the work that we've done this semester. My hope is that by the end of this unit, students can take this information, put it in a final summative document that they can reflect on in the future, or even submit as a college application type of demonstration of what it is that they are able to do. My hope is by the end of this, they can tell how the skills of earning, saving, investing, protecting, and planning connect to create lifelong financial security. Throughout this semester, we've done a lot. We started with figuring out our gross income for a dream career. We then took away a number of different deductions, which left us with net income. That net income then shows up on a paycheck, but students need to understand how to read a payroll pay stub. And so the goal is to make sure that they are receiving all of the money it is that they work for. Once they've received that money needs to go somewhere, so they have it direct deposited to their bank. Because they learn more about banks, they know that credit is important, and being able to borrow money responsibly, if that's something they choose to do, is going to come with great financial risks, but at the same time, the reward is significant. And the ability to be able to borrow money cheaper and easier is definitely something that you as an adult are going to want to do. That first opportunity to borrow money in the credit unit teaches students how to borrow money on a credit card. Then we move into purchasing a car and basics of lending. And then housing, where we talked about renting versus buying a home, investment, so that you can set aside money to make sure that you are not reliant only on Social Security upon retirement, so that you can live your best life. And finally, taking all of that information to structure your financial house of cards with federal taxes, insurance, estate planning, and budgeting. We started here and ended there. All of this information has been covered throughout this 10-part series and in my classes with all of the slide decks that I provide. Now it's time to put it all together, where students will write a formal MLA formatted essay that summarizes what they've learned this semester in personal finance. The essay serves as their final reflection and portfolio. It ties together all of the major units and shows how they've grown in financial understanding. Additionally, all of the sub assignments that happen throughout this entire 10-part series will be added and attached to the appendix, so that they can use this to demonstrate their successes and knowledge of financial literacy. I have had students in years past use this document at its close to submit as supporting documentation of evidence that they have completed college level classes or higher level high school classes and demonstrated the financial literacy necessary to really thrive as an adult. I've had students use this information to apply to Ivy League schools, as well as multiple UCs and other very prestigious schools. This is the final document, the written final example template that my students will be working on in MLA format. And with this document, students need to complete all of the sections using all the information that they created throughout this entire 10-unit semester. With MLA formatting, I do always note for my students to follow along with the template exactly as it is, change nothing, as I have created this in exact MLA format using Purdue OWL's specific templates. Do change all of the things that say your last name or teacher name or whatever the title of the class is to whatever it actually is. It sounds silly, but I always have to share that with you. All right, so let's do this. So first, anywhere where you see red is just information, and anywhere where you see information that is teaching you how to complete a section, make sure to fill in the info and then delete it once you are done, so that it looks like a polished document that is relevant to just you, and it's not a template that your teacher shared with you. So for me, a student cannot even earn an A if they never ran spell check or Grammarly, and they also did not delete all of my pre-templated information. The only thing that should remain that is from me is the headers and subheaders. I start with the introduction, where they outline what it is that they chose to pursue as a career for the entire semester. And in this area, it talks about what education or training they needed in order to acquire that position. We start with the payroll deductions of that position from my Unit 1 payroll deduction packet, where they identify how much their 401k contribution will be, as well as how much an employer's match will be. They identify what a 401k is and what that employer match means. They then reference from Unit 7 the Power of Compound Interest 401k projection tool. They explain how much money they expect that they will have saved upon retirement based on their 3% contribution with their employer's 3% contribution, and also mention using historical interest rates of the stock market to determine that rate of return. They attach the image in the appendix of what they found from that power of compound interest. They then outline what net income, health insurance, life insurance, and Medicare are, as well as Social Security, and attach the Social Security forecast tool where they identified roughly how much money they will receive in retirement as early as 62 years old, where they quickly realize that they cannot live their best life on that amount of income alone. They also attach their payroll deduction packet and pay stub in the appendix. We then move on to taxes, where they discuss what a W-2, W-4, and 1040 tax return are. All of this is attached in the appendix. For the credit section, we identify what a credit score and credit report are, what the 5 parts of the pie are, which effectively is what makes up a credit score, how do they establish and maintain credit, and if they were to get a credit card, what type of credit card would they get and consider using and why. Under housing, they identify whether they would purchase or rent and why, attach their Zestimate information using Zillow to detail where they will live, how many bedrooms and baths it has, the square footage, if it's for rent or for sale, how much the monthly mortgage payment or rent would be, and attach an image of the attached assignment Zestimate in the appendix. Under banking, students will then figure out what checking account, savings account, as well as what type of checks they will get and how they will write a check and what bank they will do that with. For transportation, they have to figure out a car that makes sense for their life in my class, I use 22 years old, and the reason for 22 years old is because they've either gone to college for 4 years, military for 4 years, or just 4 years of trade school or life in general. So what type of car based on their net income is realistic based on their income and lifestyle, and what will they need to do? They add in the Kelley Blue Book value as well as the price after a 10% tax title and registration increase, and how much the monthly loan payment will be on a 5-year car loan with 0% down. And then they attach that information in the appendix, as well as a car insurance quote, which goes in the appendix as well. Insurance and estate planning is also something that gets tackled in this class, where they figure out how much they will spend on car insurance and life insurance, explaining those different forms, what a trust and a will is, and use that section to discuss how they will protect their assets while attaching an image of their car insurance quote. While attaching a copy of their trust and will assignment as well. Assignment in the appendix. For the budget section, they will list out how much groceries will cost them for an entire week. They will list fixed, variable, and unexpected expenses, put all that information into the budget spreadsheet that I have given them in an earlier unit, attach that in the appendix. They'll conclude it using this section to summarize all the key things that they learned and how they will impact them in their dream career. It should be approximately 1 page long. I then give them the appendix down here where everything goes, and then they follow along with the next steps. Now that you have written your MLA essay and we've gone through that, a few considerations before hitting that submit button. 1, I always like to use Grammarly and spell check to make sure that there's nothing there that as soon as my instructor is going to open it up, they'll see the red squiggly or red underline mark and instantly know this student did not take the minutes to just simply run spell check. If there are any pre-templated items like information that says here in this section, you will learn about, this is where you need to delete that. Make it flow as though this is a document that you have created. Make sure that there are paragraph breaks. Don't write gigantic paragraphs. Make sure that these things are broken up to make your reader's life a little bit easier. Start sentences with capital letters. It sounds silly, but the amount of times that I see a student that writes and submits this beautiful document by the end of it, but they open with I in lowercase or because in a lower b. Make sure you capitalize the first letter of a sentence. Do make sure if you are using Google Documents, depending on where you are watching this from, if you are one of my students or somebody else that is using this information, to share the document with me or the instructor that is using this. Share any hyperlinks with me as well, because you will be hyperlinking information into your appendix so that the instructor or myself can review this documentation to make sure that everything meets the expectation. And if I can't see it, I can't grade it. So it's necessary for you to share any hyperlinks and documents with me. Abbreviate the hyperlinks. Nobody wants to see long extended web address of it. Instead, if you click on whatever the link is, then hit the little paperclip function, and then where it says edit text, edit the text to say whatever that assignment or document is so that they don't have to read that. It looks so much more professional. Do have a peer review this before submitting. That is the best thing that you can do, is to get a second set of eyes on this. At this time, I ask students if they have any questions, because this is almost it. I share some final thoughts with my students. First, for those that are really interested in learning more, I do provide them with a little bit of extended learning. Extra books that I would recommend students start to read if they are interested in this content is one, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Do note there is a little bit of foul language in there. It's written by an author named Ramit Sethi. I apologize if I butchered the pronunciation there. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. That's an iconic personal finance type of a book. Do know there is some other things that have happened in his financial background, but take that with a grain of salt because it talks a lot more about debt leverage and the idea of purchasing homes. I'm not saying that's the path you have to go on, but it has definitely been fruitful for me. And then lastly, the Total Money Makeover. There are some religious and political undertones in there by Dave Ramsey. But if you're somebody that is either in debt, knows someone that's in debt, a family member that's in debt, or you just want to build your credit score, this is kind of the war on debt, which is kind of the exact opposite of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it also goes against any of the credit teachings that I taught. But this is a still fundamentally sound financial literacy type of course. And then below, MIT does offer some free finance classes, and I've hyperlinked that there. Go. This is the semester conclusion. This is the recap, my manifesto, if you will. Invest early, invest often, invest wisely. Do not touch it. Research online high yield savings accounts for an emergency fund. Fund it for about 3 to 6 months of all of your monthly expenses that you've budgeted for. If you need to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles a few weeks out and you know that it's coming, make an appointment. Try to keep your car loans ideally 4 years or 48 months and below. 5 years is acceptable, but I would prefer keeping it shorter than that. Consider buying a used car with a factory warranty remaining or a certified pre-owned vehicle. I personally like a 3 to 4 year old car. You still get the same type of technology. I usually look under 25,000 miles to leverage depreciation. Credit cards are solely a tool to build credit to borrow money easily and cheap in the future for bigger purchases. They are not a tool to borrow money. You only get a credit card, and maybe you get a few rewards here and there, but you only get the credit card to build your credit score. So when it comes time to buy your first house or first multi-family home, you are in a position with the best credit score possible. Additionally, research banks and credit unions for pre-approval before car shopping. If you need a loan, that is something you want to do because it gives you a negotiation chip with that car lender as well. Find jobs with transferable skills to your career. Working a job you hate, identify skills that cross over and learn to do them well. When I worked at the movie theater, I didn't really enjoy doing it. That was my first job in high school, but I learned how to speak to customers and I learned how to sell. For every liability you own, that's a debt, you are somebody else's asset. That's somebody else's income. Think about that. If you are borrowing money from somebody, you are their asset. You are paying them. Do note, good debt is something that someone else pays you. Bad debt is a liability that you pay. Behind every disappointment is a gem of wisdom. It is undoubtedly true that something is going to come up where something doesn't work out the way that you want it to. Instead of just being down on yourself and woe is me, think about how can that help you learn and build and grow better. Trust that I have made many financial mistakes in my life, and that's why I do what it is that I do. If your employer offers a 401k match, max it out and don't touch it. If you leave that job, don't just liquidate the money into your personal account. You have to roll it into an IRA or else there are tax repercussions with it. Do weigh the details and tax burden of a Roth IRA conversion with when you are in a lower tax bracket. The IRS does not like me better than it likes you. If you get a giant refund, you have the government. You just gave the government an interest-free loan for the year. If you earn less than the standard deduction, you are not obligated to pay tax. If you put that money in a Roth IRA, it grows completely tax-free until you go to take that money out. It's still not taxed. If you don't know what to invest in for a 401k, determine what year you will become 62. Find a target date fund with low fees below or near 0.2%, or research a diversified index fund ETF with a long-term investment strategy of accumulating shares, not chasing a dollar amount. Live below your means, save aggressively while you're young with fewer responsibilities, and put that money towards a down payment on a home, or better yet, a multifamily unit. Live in one, rent out the rest. And if you go to start a family, then you rent out that final next one after at least 2 years. The bank will then look at that income and you can use that as cash flow to go and purchase your next place. That's my opinion. Property taxes and mortgage interest are tax deductible. They do reduce your taxable income, often allowing you to itemize your taxes. Time is the greatest asset that you have on your side. Aggressively invest while you have time to recover it. Uh, Interest can even help even the most disciplined low wage earners create generational wealth. If you are using compound interest and leveraging it in your favor, you will undoubtedly change the trajectory of your family's financial tree. If you ever have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me or your instructor if they are teaching this to you as well. I have my students next up write an email to themselves with all of the information that they've learned from this class, and they have it delivered either 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years from now to their personal email address. Do note, don't send it to your school email address because it will be deleted, or at least within my district, it will be. And reflect on the things that you learned, reflect on the goals that you've set for yourself in that time frame, and then you will receive that email in a few years from here. This is the end. This is it. It is my opinion, and I believe this to be fact, that this is the single most valuable class on campus. Take the information from this course to pursue your financial freedom. My name is Max Feldman with the Business Teachers Toolkit. I wish you all the best and hope that you find your financial freedom in whatever that looks like to you. All the best.